Welcome for this first panel, film studies. Okay, so we're going to start to welcome our presenters. We're going to listen to our dear colleague Cecina Sima from University of Algiers. Free will, fairness, competitiveness, Squid game system deconstructed.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming today for our conference. So today's presentation is about Squid Game, as you all may have heard about the series. So the title is questioning free will, fairness, competitiveness, Squid Game system deconstructed. So I'm going to delve into these three concepts, three notions of fairness, competitiveness, and the notion of free will as the following. So, before we start, I'd like to remind you about the plot. So the story revolves around poverty-ridden people, more than 400 people, who have received a mysterious invitation to attend and play childish games in order to gain a colossal amount of money. Of course, there is a catch, which the players are not conscious about. They're not informed about the catch. Is that the games are deadly, literally. So, as the game, advances, they realize that it was a kind of trap. Right? So they soon discover that this sudden outburst of philanthropy is not as fair as it may seem. Now, this series has been directed and written by excuse my pronunciation, Hwang Dong-hyuk, a South Korean director who had actually written the script 10 years ago, but couldn't afford having the film directed until now, when this kind of genre became famous. So he is famous for having criticized capitalism throughout his series, and therefore my presentation is going to explore the notion of locus of power as money, and violence as stress, and elaborated and reinforced by the capitalist system. So to do so, I'm going to make use of some of Pierre Bourdieu's notion of habitus, symbolic power, and violence, and symbolic violence and class. Now, Pierre Bourdieu is a famous French sociologist and philosopher who had worked on many sociological concepts, among which we have habitus. So I thought that quoting Bourdieu directly could be the best form of explaining these notions. So the first notion is habitus. Habitus is, according to Pierre Bourdieu, is that which one has acquired, but which has become durably incorporated in the body in form of permanent disposition. It's a kind of socially constructed habits. That's why actually he called habitus, the word habitus, and not habit, which is a personal habit, okay, personal thing. Moving to symbolic power. Symbolic power could be probably compared to Gramsci's soft power. He said that symbolic power is about creating things, quote, creating things with words. A description can create things. It is a power of consecration or revelation, a power to conceal or reveal things which are already there. So, as I told you, it could be compared to Gramsci's notion of soft power compared to coercive power. Moving to symbolic power, which is the logical outcome of symbolic violence, which is the logical outcome of symbolic power. So symbolic violence is violence wielded with tacit complicity between its victims and the agents, insofar as both remain unconscious of submitting to or wielding it. So it's a kind of unconscious behavior, violent behavior, but which is not a physical one. It is inculcated via simple, maybe, remarks that we receive on a daily basis. For example, about physical appearance or something like that. Now, moving to class, Pierre Bourdieu never had a clear-cut definition of class, but he seems to have a Marxian approach about class, which of course revolves around capital, that is to say money, habitus, and what he calls social space. It's a space or a place around which groups, behave in a certain way. They are kind of programmed to behave in a certain way, upper classes versus, for example, middle and lower classes or working classes. So that's it for the notions. To do so, to fulfill the task of examining the locus of power within the series, I'm going to follow this outline. So the first one is about free will and choice, second one is about equality and equity, and the third one is about competitiveness. So are you ready? Okay. So let's talk about equity and equality. Now, I have chosen this because throughout the series, players are reminded that the game is based on equality between themselves. All of them are said to be or believed to be equal. So, for example, we find that players are obliged to wear certain uniform and are referred to with numbers. And similarly, the guards who wear red overalls and wear a certain mask to, of course, preserve anonymity, are assigned a certain symbol according to the tasks they are assigned. However, this approach actually dehumanizes them. It strips them of their identity and individuality. It does not allow them to be themselves. So this kind of equality is not really what it is at the surface. It is a kind of, as I told you again, dehumanization. The fact that the guards have different symbols that remind us of the PlayStation controller, square or a circle, etc., makes us think about the ranks. Okay, that everyone is assigned, the tasks they are assigned, which again remind us of this class struggle. Everyone must abide to certain rules and stick to their class. They cannot change their tasks freely. Of course, they have a strict protocol to follow. For those who have watched the series, they know what I'm talking about. So at the end of the day, this kind of equality that is reinforced by the system is just a system that serves the upper class, the VIPs and the hosts, the mastermind of the game. Because the players, both the players and guards who actually enjoy certain safety compared to players, are just pawns that defend the king, to speak, in a metaphorical way. So this is a form, as I told you, a form of symbolic violence that has been consensually agreed upon. It's a mutual agreement between the ruler and the ruled. So moving to the way the system of the game deals with divergent players and guards is that the system reserves a harsh punishment to whoever dares outplay the rules. For example, we find that guards and the doctor who were involved in harvesting organs from dead players are executed harshly, because that would mean that the doctor would enjoy a certain advantage compared to the other players. The advantage being some hints about the upcoming games. So this defies the notion of equality that was stressed by the system. So that is the justification of the system of killing those people involved in this underground organ traffic. So moving to another example of divergent behavior is the glass worker. At some point of the series, of the fourth game, there was a kind of glass tiled bridge where the players had to guess at their peril, which one is safe, that is to say the tempered glass, and which one was not safe to walk on. So one of the players happened to be a glass worker who could guess or who could tell the difference between tempered glass and regular one. So as soon as this has been discovered by the frontman, who was the supervisor supervising the game, he immediately turned off the lights, obliterating any chance for the player to guess, to carry on, to safely walk through the bridge. And when he was asked about this unjust decision, by the VIPs, he just motivated his answer by saying that this will place the player in an advantageous position compared to the others. But if we look closely to this decision, if he had allowed this player to safely move through the bridge, that would make the game dull for the VIPs, who are there for the thrill of seeing people die. So, in this sense, we can say that this host, this frontman, is just asking as a master of puppet, deciding of the fate of these poor people. So here again, power is unequally distributed in favor of the rich against the poor, and in this sense, again, power is achieved through what we call both symbolic and physical violence. So, talking about the distribution of power, the players' dynamics is interesting as well. Why? Because at some point, as you can see, there's a team building happening there, and these 5 people naturally formed a team in the before the third game, and who could, succeed in forming connections between themselves. So you have player number 1. Ilnam, which actually is the mastermind behind the game, who was just playing in disguise, who was undercover. We've got the Pakistani player 456, which is the protagonist. Player 456 is the protagonist and the final winner of the game. And we've got the North Korean one and the intellectual one, who is Woo Chang, 218. But okay, so at some point they were asked who is the leader of the game, and player 456 said they are all equal. There is no leader actually. But if we look closer, this distribution of power is not as equal as it may seem, because it seems that player 218 is the one who is leading the game. Why? Because through his behavior, we notice that he does not address women or elderly people. He only talks to the 2 male adults. That is to say, Guion, who is the protagonist, player 456, and the other one, the Pakistani one. He just does not regard the old man and the women to be worth his attention. By the way, player 218 is also an intellectual. He could go to university, and he was deeply respected by the members of his neighborhood. Hence, this what we call internalized power. They have internalized his authority. They have unknowingly accepted his authority to be the one to be followed. So even among the working class people, we can find that some people are, let's say, more equal than others. Okay? So let's move to the second point, free will. So free will is, as I told you, stressed toward the game, because at the beginning, the players are told that they have the choice to whether stay or not. It's up to them. It's really up to them. But these kind of choices are just set from the ruling class. It's not that they had anything to add. They just had to choose between black or white. Okay, they don't have a third choice or any other choice at all. So let's see the clause. The clause of the game that they had to sign upon before beginning the game consists of 3 simple, I would say simplistic rules. but the wording of these rules are both intriguing and ambiguous. They have used ambiguity to trick them to agree to those seemingly innocent clauses. Like, for example, they are told that no player can stop the game, decide to stop the game during the game, not any time during the days they are staying there. And anyone who wants to stop playing any game will be eliminated. And that word is both intriguing and ambiguous because that wasn't a metaphor. They were to be literally eliminated, that is to say killed, if they stopped playing. So this kind of rules are problematic because they only present half-truth. They are tricked into thinking that they could just stop playing and that's it. But in fact, they don't have that choice. They have to die for that. So, moving to killing, at some point the game becomes extremely competitive. Why? Because the host made them hungry, and at some point they started to fight for food, and when there was one casualty of, as a result, resulting from the fight, they realized that when someone dies, even outside games, their share will be added to the winning. So which made them, realize that if they kill each other, they will have more chance or bigger chance to have more money. So at some point, they resort to slaughter. And this physical violence, this kind of inhuman physical violence is only the result of the pressure they were living by, the pressure that was inculcated by the ruling class through symbolic violence. What I mean by symbolic violence here is joblessness, the inability to pay for healthcare services, or homelessness, etc. So, in this sense, they have internalized this symbolic violence and reinterpret this symbolic violence through physical violence, because at the end of the day, this is the only thing they own. They only own their body and violence, so they have to kill to survive. So they are playing with their conservation instinct. Donc, sorry, excuse my French, literally. Yeah, coming to it. So the slaughter is only the choice, the only choice they have. So moving to the vote. The vote is seemingly at the end of the players, at the hands of the players, but we realize that Ilnam, player number one, who is, as I told you, the mastermind behind the game, has the decisive vote. He could decide whether to stop the game or to carry on, because he had the ultimate vote, and he could decide from the odd number whether to stop or not. But even if he decided to stop the game, he tricked the players to come back via some manipulative techniques, as was the case with Gihan. Now, yes, I'm coming to it with Dr. Saoudi Karima. So, as I told you, there wasn't any choice at all, because the players are tricked to fight each other instead of fighting the system that enslaved them to poverty. So this is a kind of false consciousness, to cite Karl Marx. And besides, players are incentivized by other players' death, accepting to gamble their life in exchange of possible jackpot. So they have internalized symbolic violence by the process of habitus, and they earn nothing but physical violence as a coping mechanism. Now, talking about competitiveness, yes, there is this concept of surplus value. Surplus value is provided by, it could be interpreted by a form of profit from a capitalist point of view. This is profit in a capitalist point of view. Now, how is surplus value represented in the film? Is by players. Players are motivated with a colossal amount of money. They seek self-interest, thus perceiving other players are rivals to be killed. So killing is being competitive here, which is again a form of dehumanization through symbolic violence. So the protagonist wins and achieves profit, but at what cost? Because while he was busy working hard, that is to say, playing at his peril, his mother died because she couldn't afford healthcare services, which is another analogy of what we call life-work balance, which is a problematic concept in capitalist countries where people are too busy to work instead of living. So he missed out this important event. And in this sense, we can say that the classes here, the working classes, are just too busy working and missing out their own life. So, moving to another symbol, that's the last one, I swear. So there is the symbol of classes and social space. Social space in Bourdieu's concept is the assigned space for each class. So people are lured to think that if they work hard, they can climb the social ladder. They can become richer, like Sarkozy says, travailler plus pour gagner plus. So, but it is a lie because at the end, even if they work harder, they still remain poor as they could be. And this is symbolized by the staircase. The staircase is the symbol of the social ladder, but it doesn't lead to anywhere. It only leads to their death. Okay? And the verticality is also present. This is another symbol. The players are put in the playground, but the VIPs are placed above them, literally. And symbolically, it is another symbol or another sign that the VIPs will remain VIPs and the players will remain so. Now, this is what we call toxic competition. Thank you. I haven't finished yet. Thank you for being too strict with me. So the conclusion is that Okay, so Squid Game is an allegory of savage capitalism because both players and guards are dehumanized via the process of reification. False consciousness prevents them from fighting the true foe. And the suffering of the working class is both physical and symbolic and is exacerbated by habitus that is socially inculcated. And the last point is that, consequently, hegemony is achieved thanks to capital, money, power, and the status quo is maintained along with social space of each class. And I've got a gift for you. Just thank you. All right, thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Latina, for this very interesting presentation. So